Okay, class, welcome to the largest assignment we have for this semester, and that is the proposal assignment. As you've seen in the PB Wiki and in the textbook, there are many kinds of proposals, many types of proposals, and these proposals can range from a one-page mini proposal to multi-million-dollar 100-page proposals. For this class, we will do about a 5 to 6 page proposal. And there are samples on the PB Wiki site, and I have samples in Word files that you can upload and review. I'm going to take you through the process on this proposal because the process is rather complicated. And I'm actually going to start from the end and work backwards so you kind of know how you build this full proposal. As you see here, here is a proposal written by a student, and this is a proposal to create a pre-departure orientation for NMSU students, and this student worked for the Study Abroad program. Now I'm just going to scroll through this proposal to show you the final product that this student submitted, and of course her name is not Jane Doe, but I changed her name just to keep privacy here. Now if you look, it starts with an introduction, and then she used the categories present situation, which is really the start of the problem section. And in this problem section she lays out the ideal side here in the first paragraph. Then she joins the ideal situation with the reality, which is the problem. We scroll into the second page. She talks about the specific problems of the systems, the effects of the system for the current study abroad students. She gives some history, and then she moves into the criteria, what the solution must do in order to solve the problem. Then she moves into her solution section. She overviews her solution, and then she talks about what she's going to do. She's going to schedule pre-departure orientations, and that will include outside programs that will be brought in. She talks about how to staff the pre-departure orientations, and then she gives a sample of an agenda, a long sample showing how what could happen, and then she gives references of other universities that use pre-departure orientations, and then she gives a conclusion. Now this is a good solid proposal. She could have talked a little bit more here on how these other universities use a pre-departure meetings. In the appendix then she has the interview questions and some of the survey questions she used with students and faculty. And this is the final product. Now, how did she get to this very long, in some ways it's a long proposal? This is what I want to show you now. The start to the proposal writing process is the starting guide, and that's what we're going to work on here. And this starting guide, its goal is to get you focused on a topic that is worth exploring. And that has some very specific criteria. This is a topic that or a problem that needs to be solved, and it can be solved in the time frame that you have for this semester, and you actually are in a position to solve it as a writer, and your readers will believe you. So that very long proposal, I guess it's not a very long proposal, but the rather lengthy proposal on the Study Abroad program started as a starting guide, and we'll take you through this starting guide later on, but it started with a concern. And on the A side, she lays out her ideals. On the B side, she lays out the reality of the problems. And then she asks questions on the questions that link the ideals on the A side and the reality on the B side. And from these questions, she selects a guiding question. And then she has a proposal objective. This is how we start the proposal. Now, once a student completed the starting guide, and many times students have to go through a couple of starting guides, they move to the problem statement, and that is taking the starting guide and putting it into prose. And the first half of the problem statement is the ideal side or A side. And then the second half is the reality joined by the what I call the big but phrase. And then she has questions right here, her guiding question. And then she writes her proposal objective. So this is basically just 3 paragraphs to get us started, but we do this process separately to get this problem statement set up well. Now once the student has the starting guide, now as I just mentioned, I had to resize this. Once a student has finished the starting guide and the problem paragraphs or problem statement, then we will move into writing what's called the problem memo. And this is, as you see in the problem memo, this student took her problem statement, the first paragraph, the second paragraph, and the questions and proposal objective, and she moved it into a problem memo. Now, as you'll see in this problem memo, it's a little more than just a problem statement, because we have the causes of the problem, we have effects of the problem, we have history and future, and then criteria and conclusion. Now this problem memo is the first half of the proposal. Now one of the difficult things about this problem section in the problem memo is organizing the causes and effects, because sometimes we think something is a cause or something is an effect. So one of the things we do to organize the problem section is to develop what's called a visual invention. Now this student didn't do the visual invention, and you can kind of see how it shows up here because the problem section isn't organized that well. But here's another visual invention done by a student in the same class, and she put her central problem here, and the visual invention helps her understand the causes on the top and the effects at the bottom. The goal of this visual invention is to help students organize the problem section, specifically the causes and effects and history. Now if we move back to the problem memo, the problem memo also contains, as you see, criteria, and that's very important to do, and we write that basically as one separate piece and insert that. Now once the problem memo is complete, we move on to the audience and research memo. The audience and research memo is very important because once you understand the problem, you need to analyze the audience and organization and gather data to document the problem and your solution. Now the audience memo has, what you do for the audience memo is you pull in the first part of the problem section, but then you add an audience and organizational analysis, and this comes directly from the textbook. And you see here she is analyzing her audience at the Study Abroad program. And these are all, you respond to questions from the textbook. And then there's a research section. And she introduces her research. She goes back to the guiding questions that she did with the starting guide. And then she talked about her research plans. And she has research plans for primary research sources. And then she should have secondary research sources here. She missed that. And then she has a conclusion. Now in this audience and research memo, you actually plan the kind of surveys, interviews, and secondary data sources that you will use to document the problem. And this memo not only helps you document the problem, but it helps you research the kinds of solutions that will be effective that you will implement for the final proposal. Now once this audience and research memo is complete, the students actually carry out the research. They do the surveys, they do the interviews, they do the secondary research sources, which is, she actually did. She looked at what the 5 other universities were doing, and that is in preparation to write the final proposal. Usually the first thing we do when we start drafting the final proposal is to write a solution section, and you can see she starts with the criteria because the criteria what the solution must meet, and then she writes a solution section, and this is usually a draft, and we get it up on the PB Wiki and we look at it. Now once a solution section has been drafted, we actually go back and write the full proposal. And the way we do that is we take our problem memo and then we add the solution section. And with these two put together, we add our research and audience analysis to document the problem and to help us understand the final solution. Now we're back to where we started with this introduction. This is the final product that is built piece by piece. Starting guide first, then problem section. Then we start writing the problem memo, and to help us organize the problem memo, we do the visual invention. When the problem memo is created, which includes criteria, the problem section, causes and effects history, we do the audience analysis and research. Once we have the audience analysis and research complete, we explore the solutions section, draft the solution section. When that is drafted, we add the solution section to the problem memo to create a rough draft of the final proposal, and then we work on crafting the final proposal. That's a process. This is actually the same process I go through. I write proposals almost 80% of the time. Right now I'm writing 2, and this is a process that most professionals use. It's a somewhat complicated process, but once you understand how the parts fit together, it makes a lot of sense. The key is that we need to do a great job on each part of the process to make the whole work well together. Okay, good luck on this. Please tell me if you have any questions.